Local programming on KRWG made possible in part by viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to Fronteras, Changing America. I'm Anthony Moreno. Our guest today helped turn around a struggling Anthony, New Mexico elementary school into a nationally recognized Blue Ribbon school. Please welcome Principal Linda Perez. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Now I'd like to learn, before we get into this, I'd like to learn a little bit about yourself and your educational background.
Okay. I was born and raised in El Paso, Texas, across the border from Anthony, New Mexico. I went to Bowie High School, graduated in 20 years ago. Went to UTEP for my bachelor's and then moved on to the College of Santa Fe where I received my master's in educational administration for youth at risk.
Okay. Now you took over as principal of this Anthony Elementary School 4 years ago.
4 years ago, sorry, yes.
What were some of the things that you wanted to really let people know right as soon as you began as principal that were some major goals for the elementary school?
Our goal was to increase our reading and our math scores. When I got there, they were at the 40 percentile, and that was not acceptable to me. So our first goal was to increase those at least by 10%, and we did it. We created units of study where the teachers wrote what it was that they were going to do for the 9 weeks based on the New Mexico standards and benchmarks. And at the end of those 9 weeks, we gave a student assessment where it told us, as the educators, are we teaching and are the kids learning?
Now, how often do you meet with your grade levels?
Once a week.
Once a week?
Once a week. We have grade level team meetings once a week. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, what were some of the most challenging things that you saw right as soon as you took over that the elementary was working on, but just what you weren't getting it right?
I think it was student assessment and accountability for those results. We had great teachers, but they were not assessing what the students were learning or in terms assessing what they were doing to teach those students.
So, going through this process of becoming a Blue Ribbon school, could you kind of walk us down the whole process from the beginning to being recognized as that?
Well, one of the major steps that we took is that we, as a staff, we conducted a book study. I don't know if you're familiar with Failure is Not an Option by Alan Blankenstein. And in the beginning of that book, when we started reading, we knew that we needed to set ourselves up as educators and students and the community. So we wrote our vision and our mission statement, which in terms when you read it, it's basically a no excuse attitude. We're going to accomplish our goals because our students deserve it. Once we had that written, we had a goal in mind, and our goal was there was going to be no excuses for accomplishing at least a 7-8% gain every year. We've managed to do 10 at times, 8 at times. This is my 4th year, and I believe that once we knew what we were going to do as educators, that led us through the path of reaching our goals. And our goal has always been to be at the top. And right now we're number 1 in Gadsden Independent School District in both our reading and our math scores.
Now you were recognized in 2013 as a Blue Ribbon school,
yes,
one of only 3 schools in New Mexico to receive that honor. What was it like when you found out that your school was going to be recognized?
We knew we had applied because it's a very strenuous project to apply, and there's a lot of work that entails that. We were nominated by Secretary of Education Scandera. When I found out from a reporter from the Albuquerque Journal that called in the afternoon to see what my reply was to being a national recognized school. So we were floored. I called the superintendent and said, "We got it." He's like, "What did you get?" I was like, "We got the Blue Ribbon." It was an amazing experience. I was not notified by anyone. Apparently, everyone was emailing my district eChalk account through the website, and that the filter was not letting my messages come through. So I was just very, very excited.
Now, you were able to travel to Washington, D.C. last November to receive a plaque in honor. Tell us about that experience and what that was like.
It was an amazing experience. As you're aware, in the U.S., there's over 300,000 schools. There was 286 schools nationally recognized. It was an experience. They had activities for us. It was very well planned by the government. We received a flag. We received a plaque. We were honored at a luncheon. It was just an amazing experience to be able to sit across the table from someone who had achieved the same goal that you had. As an educator, the Blue Ribbon is the best award ever. It's like an Oscar to a movie star.
Now, what were some of the things that you took from meeting with the other educators that were, receiving
That were there?
the same honor?
A lot of it had to do with no excuses, and we're here for students. I think our goal for all of us is we're very challenged in the U.S. When our kids come to our schools, they have a lot of domestic issues, especially in Anthony. Our kids are majority, 99% of our kids are economically disadvantaged. A large percentage live with relatives because parents are either deported. A lot of our parents are incarcerated. So it's just a daily challenge. And I think that when we were talking amongst ourselves, we sat with the charter school from Albuquerque and the middle school from Alamogordo, and I think one of the consensus was that we do so much with so little.
So much with so little. And
Monetary wise.
okay, so you know how to stretch a dollar.
Oh yeah.
What are some of the things that you do, in order to still reach your goals when you're facing these challenges that may be excuses for a lot of schools?
We don't take excuses. Like I tell my staff, when the kids get to our school, we forget where they come from. We're here to teach them, and they're here to learn, and that's what I tell the kids. If you walk into Anthony Elementary, our focus is college. We're a college-bound campus. You'll see our college flags everywhere. All our teachers have a plaque in the front door, and it tells the students where they graduated from, what degree they received, and it's an incentive because a large percentage of my staff are Gadsden graduates. And I like to hire people from the community if they've gone through college, because they know where the kids are coming from. They know what the kids are facing.
Now, so you basically, whenever somebody walks into a classroom, they know the teacher's credentials.
Yep.
Before they even enter the classroom.
Absolutely.
And what about, as far as the teacher's testing history? Is that on there as well?
No, the testing history is, of course, on the webpage. I do have it for my school. I do post it up, and they know that I'm going to post it. So, for example, if you're a teacher at my school, it will say, Mr. Moreno, what were your scores in reading? What were your scores in math?
Okay. Many of your students are also English language learners. How has that process been as far as making sure that everybody is on the same pace and learning at the same level? About
70% of our students are English language learners. And when you look at our bilingual program, we have a transitional program, which means that when the students enter our school, they learn everything in their native language, which of course it's Spanish. By the time they're in second and third grade, they're transitioning all those skills into English. One of the things that we do is that our unit of study and our assessments are exactly the same whether they're in English or Spanish. So it ensures that it doesn't matter what language you're learning in, you are learning the standards and benchmarks, or the Common Core standards, which we're using now.
Now, with, say, a student comes in fifth grade that doesn't speak any English, what is the process that they're going to have to go through?
We have our bilingual transitional program begins, usually if you start in kinder, well then you're a bilingual Spanish student in kinder. If you come in fifth grade, you're still classified as a bilingual Spanish student, and all of your academics are in Spanish, with the exception of your English language development, which we use science and social studies, and your ESL classes. So it's essentially the same whether you start in kinder in fifth grade, you're still a BS student, and everything that you learn in your native language.
See, Anthony Elementary, I'd like to get back to talking about the economic challenges that you face. Obviously, a lot of the students are coming from a challenging background economically. Many of them are receiving a free or reduced lunch. Is there anything that you notice that that's been able to help you leave everything at the door whenever a student comes in, as far as teaching them?
I think a lot of it has to do with the communication with parents and the buy-in by those parents that they want their kids to succeed, and how are they going to do it? Through education. When I look back, I grew up with a lot of the challenges that the kids face, and I know that just with my mother saying, you're going to do it and you're going to go to school and you're going to learn, that helped a lot. And that's what I tell the parents. It helps a lot that I speak the language and I'm able to communicate with them, and that I have an open door policy, and that they know right away is that we're going to ask their child, and we're going to ask them to provide an environment where their child can learn and can do homework at home.
So it's no excuses
No
for
excuses
everybody.
for everyone.
Okay. I see.
Parents or kids, yeah.
I see. So having that type of communication and open door policy, has that really enabled a lot of parents to really, get in contact with you, and whenever there's a problem or issue, you can, approach it on quick?
Absolutely. And my philosophy is my door is open. You don't have to plan. You don't have to set up an appointment. If you see me out on the hall because I'm doing duty, or outside when the kids are released, you approach me and we'll talk about it.
Now, you mentioned that you have a college attitude at your school. How do you really implement that mentality?
Oh, it starts in kinder. The teachers talk about it. The teachers, every day during our morning announcements, we talk about a particular college. We talk about where it's located, what are the majors for that particular college. For example, if you talk about St. Mary's, we know that you're probably looking at a law degree. We talk about their fight song. We talk about the philosophy at that school. We talk about, even in kinder, we talk about financial aid. We talk about how it is that you're going to pay for that college. We talk about scholarships. A lot of the kids already know this is a college that I'm going to go to, and I'm going to have to get a scholarship to pay for it.
Well, that's interesting, because
it's just talk.
Well, is it really making the kids more familiar with things like filling out a financial aid, or being aware of it, or things like that?
It's just being aware of it. It's just knowing that that's your future, and it's going to happen. You're going to go to college because you're going to go to college. By the time they leave in 6th grade, they already have their goals. They already know what they're going to do. And
wow, that's pretty impressive. Technology, how are you implementing it in the classrooms?
We have a computer lab. All the classrooms do have computers. They're not the best quality because they're the Extendas. I don't know if you're familiar, where you have the motherboard and then you have 3 computers that connect to that. But we do have a brand new computer lab. It's about a couple of years old. The kids go to computers every other week, and they either do Imagine Learning, which is an ESL program. They do the Fast Math, which is a mathematical program, or they do learning.com, which just encompasses a lot. We also do keyboarding skills. With the Common Core testing that's coming up next year with a PARCC assessment, the test is going to be computerized. So our kids do have to have those computer skills.
Now, speaking of testing, that's such a big issue with a lot of schools and students, and a lot of controversy has been made of it about is this the right way to go for the students? How do you prepare students with all of this going on and alleviate the pressure to take this test?
The state test, the standards-based assessment, I believe that when you're focused and you're teaching to the standards and benchmarks or Common Core, the kids are going to perform. Do I agree that there's too much testing? Absolutely. Do I agree that a lot of that testing we don't use to drive instruction? Absolutely. And I've had that conversation with Ms. Scandera, where I tell her, you guys have all these tests. Tell me, how do I use them? Because I don't use them. Tell me how to inform instruction using the results from the DIBELS or from the letters. Or what we use in my district is a DRA, the Developmental Reading Assessment. I can look at that and I can know if the students where is it that they need help? Do they need help with sound or letter recognition? Do they need help with comprehension? And it informs that instruction. So quite frankly, the SBA, it's a standards-based assessment. So if you teach the standards, your kids are going to do well.
Okay. Is there a certain grade level to where this test, might have a little bit more pressure on it in the elementary school level?
I think fifth grade. I think fifth grade is the year where the kids are tested at a higher level. Third grade, of course, you're testing what they've learned in kinder through third. So it's a very basic test. But when you get to fifth grade, I think that's where we struggle. Historically, that's where our scores have been the lowest, in the 60% in fifth grade.
Now, when you find out that information about what needs to be changed or adapted, how do you make those changes and go through the process?
Ask me again.
When you get the fifth grader who might be struggling, how do you make those changes? Because you only have them for so much longer to really make an impact. How is that possible?
Well, after the test, we started with sixth grade Common Core, for example, for fifth grade. So what the teacher has to look at is, we don't get the results of the test till we come back in August. So what my fifth grade teachers look at is what standard and benchmark were the kids low in. For example, if it's geometry, then they add to what they're teaching in geometry.
Okay.
But it doesn't happen till the following year when the kids are in sixth grade, unfortunately, because of when we get the results.
Okay. This is kind of a philosophy question, I guess, as far as teaching goes. Do your teachers teach to a class, or do they teach to an individual?
Individual. All our instruction is individualized.
How does that work?
Differentiated instruction. They form groups. For example, if you go during math time, you'll walk into one of my classrooms and you'll see that there's a group of kids working on, let's say, for example, 3-digit subtraction. There are kids working on multiplication. There's kids working on decimals, and that's how they differentiate. And that's how they're able to do it, because it's not basically you and me. It's a group, because what they do is when they give those end of unit assessments, they form their groups and they say, okay, these 5 kids need help with decimals. So this is your group for the next 3 weeks, and then I give you another test and I see, did you learn it? Yes. Okay, then we're going to move on to another area where you need help, and what 5 kids need help in that area.
One of the things I notice is that Anthony Elementary is a uniform school.
Yes, sir.
Is that how does that work when you're dealing with students? Is there any issues, pros, cons with that?
No, nowadays I think the uniform, there's an argument that it takes your individuality away, but there's also that argument that we're all the same. And I think in that sense it helps us, because you're always going to have some kids that have more than others. And when you all have to wear khaki pants and an Anthony shirt, then you're all the same. There's no differentiation.
Okay. What are your future goals for the elementary school?
Maintain. Our goal right now is to maintain and keep improving. And I think that's where most schools that get to the top, I think that's where they struggle. One of my closest friends is a principal at another elementary school in the district, and I tell her, you have it easy. I have the most difficult job, because I'm already there. I just have to keep going up. And when you're in the 70s, our math scores are 72% of our kids are passing. It's difficult to continue. When you're in the 30s, it's really easy to improve.
So how do you keep the kids motivated, to keep challenging themselves?
A lot of it has to do with a goal in mind, and having them set their goal. If say I scored proficient in the test, what do I have to do to score advanced? And it's giving them that opportunity to set their own goals. When they look at their SBA results, the kids actually look at where their test was and what their score was for geometry, numbers, and operations, and they'll be able to tell you, this is what I have to work in, and this is my goal.
What do you think it is that really your approach and the approach that the teachers are doing, what do you think is working to get the students to buy in so much?
Very simple. It's the love for the kids and the love for the profession.
So it's just they feel that
they feel that we care. We care, and that makes a big difference. It's that attitude. I want you to succeed, and you can do it. And not giving them any excuses, and not letting them use any excuses to not learn.
So it's a a tough
love.
love.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. As far as parents go, now you talk about you have them involved. You're always notifying them. Was that a challenge from the beginning, or was there any challenges there?
Well, I wouldn't say a challenge. You're always going to have that one or two parents that come and say, you know what, it's just way too much work. Because I do have some of those parents that come in and say, you know what, you give homework Monday through Thursday. In addition to 30 or 45 minutes of daily reading, you send another hour and a half of homework. I think my child is stressed out. You're always going to have that, parents, but I think when you sit them down and you talk to them and you say, look, a lot of what your child has learned in school, we need to provide that daily homework where it's an extension, and that way we know if your child learned or if we have to remediate, which we do. We have tutoring Mondays and Wednesdays from right after school till about 4. So that's where we use our time wisely, and the kids know that they are responsible for that homework, and it's Monday through Thursday. We give them the weekend off.
So how do you, it seems like, no excuses for everybody. Why does it sound revolutionary now when maybe this is something that was this lost somewhere in the educational process through the generations?
I think a lot of it is the pressure that we feel in our daily lives as parents and as educators. And I think if you have that commitment to the students, to the parents, to the profession, and a solid background where I can tell you that when we go to work, we work. It's a daily struggle. It's not easy because we don't have a lot of the necessities that a lot of wealthy states, a lot of wealthy schools have. New Mexico is one of the poorest states in the union. So do we struggle? Yes. A lot of my money, most of my money goes to reading materials because we like to teach reading through novel studies. And that's how we differentiate instruction, and that's how we have our strategy groups. When you and I went to school, we probably had a grammar book where we learned the noun and the verbs. And we no longer do it that way. When you look at the community as a whole, and you read a book, and you talk about the challenges that the people, the characters had, and you compare it to yourself, I think that's where you learn and where those critical thinking skills come in. So challenges, we have them. But we have to just look forward to watching that child learn, and that light bulb that turns on when you got it.
What has it been like since receiving this honor, as far as your relationship with the community?
Oh, it's been when I got there, I told them, I said, we're gonna do it. We're gonna make it. And one of my goals was we're gonna be a blue ribbon school. When you look at the Gadsden Independent School District, the other blue ribbon school is in a wealthy part of Santa Teresa Country Club. And I said, we're gonna be the next that get the blue ribbon. And now the parents are like, you told us? I said, yes, I did. I told you we needed 3 years. You have to have good scores for 3 years, and then you can apply. So we're very, very proud and honored.
I see. Your school is described as bilingual and bicultural. How do you use that to increase learning and awareness about the world that they're growing up in?
Well, we have to, I'm going to say, Americanize the kids, because a lot of our kids grew up in Juarez or in Mexico, and their parents are not U.S. citizens. The kids might not be U.S. citizens. We're looking at a lot of first-generation Americans also. How does that influence what we do? We use a lot of our culture, because I'm also Hispanic, to learn. And like I told you before, a lot of the novel studies, we use that to learn about American civilization and what it is like in Missouri compared to in little Anthony, New Mexico. We want our kids to be bicultural. When they enter us, of course, their culture is the Mexican culture. But we want them to learn, we want them to experience, because when you go out into the world, it's very different. it's very different, and we don't want that culture shock. We want them to be able to function and be a success in any college that they attend, in any state, any city.
Oh, well, it sounds like they're getting a nice head start there. We only have just under a couple minutes left, but I was wondering if you could tell me about, I know you've been asked to sit on a panel, an educational panel. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
It's an educational panel with Univision. Of course, it's a Spanish language station, and from my understanding it's a panel of a lot of educators from different parts of the country, and you go and you talk about the challenges that as Hispanics we face in with our culture, with our background, with let's say language barriers. How is it that we are helping Hispanics grow and become educated? And that's what we're going to be doing. It's like a question and answer kind of session, and it takes a few days. And last year it was at Stanford. The year before it was at University of Miami. They have not decided where this one's going to be, but I look forward to representing Gadsden and Anthony, New Mexico.
Well, it looks like it's going to be a really interesting panel, and you're going to have a lot, obviously, to share with a lot of people.
And a lot to learn. A lot to learn.
Well, it sounds like your students are learning very well there, and congratulations on your honor.
Well, thank you. It's all because of our educators and our kids.
Well, thank you very much for joining us,
You're
Principal
welcome.
Perez.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Our guest was Principal Linda Perez. She is principal of Anthony Elementary School, which was recognized last year as a Blue Ribbon School. I'm Anthony Moreno. This is Fronteras, a Changing America.